Hi guys, welcome back. So recently, a lot of people have big loss in their portfolio and I see people getting depressed and lost a lot of energy. So in today's video, I have pulled together a portfolio of mine and share the experience of me recovering from 60% of losses. But before I begin, let's go over the market first. So today is another day that Nasdaq is beating the other two index again. Dow Jones was down 0.26%, S&P 500 was up 0.36%, and Nasdaq was up 1.54%. So it seems like Dow Jones is taking a rest from all the running up. Right now it's backtesting the 5-day moving average. So today was dropping a little bit, but with increase of volume. On the 2 hours chart, it shows a little bit of a diversion. It means that the index kept going higher while the MACD did not keep going higher. So that's why it looks like the Dow Jones need to take a break. It's similar with the S&P 500. We are also seeing a little bit of divergence, so that's why we should expect to see the Dow Jones and S&P 500 to both take a break from all the running up recently. And meanwhile, we can see that Nasdaq had been leading the growth today and yesterday. So yesterday I said that I hope Nasdaq can stay above the 5-day moving average. And today it not only stay above but also gap up from yesterday and passed through the 20-day moving average and the 10-day moving average and got rejected in the afternoon by the 30-day moving average. So right now it closed slightly below it, which is 13,251, and today it closed at 13,246. Close enough. The KDJ is making a golden cross, and today it's a green bar with increase of volume, slightly making up the lack of volume from yesterday. So right now, the Nasdaq is forming this descending triangle, ready to break out anytime at any direction. So if tomorrow we can have another bar to push through, then it would make it out of this descending trend for some time already. So we'll see if tomorrow or the following days can have this breakout. But of course it can go either way, it can go up or down. But for now, it's important we stay above this support. We could see that most probably we have had a fake breaking through the support on last Thursday. So then we are still moving within this range for now. The VIX index was down 1% today. It's been almost 2 weeks since it's moving right above the support of the 1000 moving average at 18.8, also touching right above the gap up created by the COVID last year. So right now we are really at the edge for a while now. So I expect that to keep moving up and down for a while. And if there is more blowing up of the black swan, for example, for the margin call, to spike up and then eventually move down and break the support from this long-term fear created by the COVID. And then we should be back to a normal market. Let's take a look at the Asian market. So yesterday, the Hang Seng Index opened up high to begin with, but dropped below the 10-day moving average, but still got supported by the 5MA. So it looks like a back test from an uprising trend for now because it's still supported. Similar with the Shanghai Index. In the middle of the day, it was breaking through the 20 and 120-day moving average, but still managed to bounce back up and got supported by the 10 and 5-day moving average. So it closed above all of the 4 supports in the end. It looked a little bit scary in the middle of the day, but it managed to close above all the moving average. So it also looks like a back test from an uptrend. So the Asian market looks like it's back testing, and the following days would be quite important to see whether it breaks support and go lower low. Something to notice is that it's a long weekend for the US stock exchange because of the Easter holiday. So the Shanghai Index, some of the Asian market might have a little bit sell-off before the long weekend because some of the investors are a bit worried about the potential uncertainties or news created in between the long weekend. but it shouldn't affect much. Let's look at our stocks. Baby Neo grew 3.8% today. It looks like it has successfully stand back above the support of 38, and to continue staying above this support would make the previous days a false breakthrough. So if we manage to stay above the support of 38, everything would look much better. EH grew 2.9%, closed at $37. Last Friday, when I was doing the live show, I said that from the 1-month chart, I would need that to close above the 5 MA to stay above the support. Last week it was 36 and this week is 37. So we see it now, it's at 37.09 and we close at 37.04, which is exactly staying above the 5 MA of the monthly chart. So we have not broken the uptrend yet. It's still supported. That is a good sign. Maybe EH had hurt me last Friday and did not fail my expectation. Because today is the end of March, so starting from tomorrow we'll have another month. LKCO is doing something similar every day, moving within tiny movements and tiny volume, mainly consolidating, so maybe it's not needed to repeat. Same thing similar with Luckin Coffee, tiny movements, tiny volume. Quiet, not much happens, challenging our patience. Yesterday in the morning we have added WIMI around 5.8 to 5.9. I said this is really the last support I have for WIMI because if it dropped below that, it might be a disaster. So today it grew quite well. At some point it was growing more than 10%. I have suggested to trim off the parts we have added yesterday morning at 6.8 if you want to keep some cash, or it's your call if you want to just hold it for longer term. Set a stop loss below the support, somewhere between 5.5 to 5.8. We also added YQ yesterday, so let's see if it can pop in the following few days. Might take a while, but because right now most of the Chinese online educations were getting hit because of the regulation from the government. But I think this is a temporary thing because the need for education, it's impossible to counter. So recently a lot of people share the same situation, is that the recent correction, especially the value squeeze from a lot of the tech stocks, the growth stocks, had been hurting our portfolio quite a bit. So some people have been telling me they're down since February. So even though Nasdaq was only down from the top by slightly above 10%, a lot of the portfolio were down much more than that, including myself. So from the peak to now, probably it would be normal to see it down around 30%, if not more, right? And it really reminds us of last year during the COVID when a lot of the stocks were down quite a bit. So I see a lot of people getting quite fearful, or some people even told me they're depressed for their losses and seeing all the profits going away and end up losing in their account. So I want to share my personal experience with an account about how I have recovered from my losses during the COVID. So this is one of the smaller accounts I have, mainly for short to medium term investment. And this is the chart that records every month performance for the last 12 months. So as you can see, last year in March 2020 was really the worst time. But I think it was similar with everyone else. A lot of people who were in the market at that time, most of them had suffered from big losses. It was very difficult to see your stocks going down and then down and down and further down. Every time you think it would rebound, it just doesn't. It would keep dipping. And a lot of the stocks, especially the high growth and small caps, could drop easily 50%, easily, just like my account. So it was painful to see your portfolio bleeding a lot. I remember at that time, the worst moment, I had unrealized loss of 60% during the worst moment. And basically every single stocks were at loss. and it's quite painful to open the account to see, and it's very easy to want to sell out everything and just forget about it. So during the worst moment, I have decided to change my stocks for faster recovery. So during the bottom of the crash, I decided to go to where the fear is. So I decided to sell out the blue chips I was holding, which were all down about 30%. I decided to cut them at loss and change it to what had dropped the most, which at that time it was the airline and the cruise. So at that time I bought Air Canada, which is the biggest Canadian airline company, at the price of $13.66. I bought Boeing at the price of $102. I bought Royal Caribbean Cruise Line at the price of $23.9, and I bought United Airlines at the price of $24. So this is Boeing. I bought it on this day around 100, and there was a nice rebound after. This is UAL, and then it bounced back up nicely in a few days. This is the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. I bought it on this day at $23.9, and it also had a nice rebound for a few days. So it had helped my account recover quite a bit in March. So at that time my account was minimized the loss down to minus 26% from minus more than 50% in the month of March. And then what happened in April, why I had a loss of 18%, was because of the crude oil. So at that time, I think we still remember that there was the oil crisis at that moment, and I had bought the dip of oil by buying the USO, United States Oil Funds. So because of the crash of oil price, I bought the dip here. It was around $32 when I bought the dip, which I thought it was considered quite low, dropping 75% from the top already. But then in April, the black swan came and the oil price became negative. So I had a big loss there again by buying the dip of oil, and the share price just dropped even further to $16. So that's why I had the loss of 26% in March, and more later on. So at first, before the March crash, my account was somewhere around 25,000 before the crash of March. And after the disaster in March, after the crash and the black swan of oil price to be negative, and not wanted to cut loss at first, had made my account go lower and lower, and at some point I had left with slightly above $10,000 with the unrealized loss of 60%. This is when it's really hard to cut loss. When your stock holding it's more than 50% at loss, you feel quite depressed to cut loss, which is, by the way, why a stop loss can be quite a life-saving action to do. It can save you from a disaster like this. So in the end, I have decided to cut loss regardlessly because I wanted to recover with other stocks. So during the COVID, we know that Amazon rise a lot in a very short amount of time, from the lowest 1,600 in March to 2,400 to 2,500 in May and June already, because people needed to stay home within the lockdown and mainly buy a lot of things online. So that would help boost the business for Amazon. But I didn't want to chase Amazon at that time. But remember, I said that when the crash happened, everything in the same sector fall together, and the first one to climb back up would be the leader of the sector. So in this case would be Amazon, right? But after the leader has gone up, then the money might start to go towards the second tier, the other players in the same sector. So which is why I thought it might be a good idea to look at the e-commerce in other market. So I bought Jumia at around 5 on this day. And then we know it had a nice run up afterwards. So I bought more after it dipped again and enjoyed the whole run up in July, and I sold it on this day, on August 4th at 20.8. So it was this day. So this had helped me recover quite a bit for my account. In July, as you see, I had a near 100% increase in that month. And then later on in August, I decided to change my stocks to more recovery stocks because at that time the tech stock grew quite high. So I bought the cinema stock, CNK, at the price of 11. And I bought real estate stock, SPG, at the price of 63. And the Canadian Solar, CSIQ, at the price of 23. And then Uber at the price of 32. I consider Uber as one of the recovery stocks as well. So changing my tech stocks to more recovery stocks in August had helped me avoid quite a big market correction from the tech stocks from September to November. And we all know that all the recovery stocks had a very good run at the beginning of November because of the vaccine news from Pfizer. So that's why I managed to have growth for August and avoided the bullets in September and October. And during the market correction of a lot of the growth stocks, I then changed some of my recovery plays into tech stocks. So that's why I have decided to buy QuantumScape, which was Kensington Capital at that time, at the price of 13.8. And after I took profit from Canadian Solar, I bought more QuantumScape at 14. And I also got Open at 17.2, which was at that time Social Capital, IPOB. So I have caught QuantumScape before the run-up during the market correction of the tech stocks. And then I booked profit, which was here from 100 to 125 at most, where I sold more than half of my shares. And then also Open, it was during a big correction of all the tech stocks again at the price of 17. And then I took profit on this day, around 36, I think. And then you know that I have bought again the dip at 17 again during the recent correction. So after I booked profit, I started to move slowly to Luckin Coffee, accumulating more shares and double my position on it during the whole month of November and December. And I also have been buying the dip for YSG between 15 to 16. I know that right now it has dropped below my cost, but at least at that time I also bought options. So I got to book some profit with the option plays. That is helping to recover my current loss. And then later on I put it into Mesa at the end of January around 6.5. And after I took profit, I put part of it in LKCO and EH. So that's why my account had been slowly recovering from the big loss at the beginning. So now as of today, my account's trailing 12 months return on investment, it's 349% positive. And I have turned the lowest of around $10,000 to now $135,000, from minus 60% to be positive around 350%. Even after the recent correction, a big fall, because my account had peaked in the middle of February, obviously, when LKCO went up to 3 point something dollars. It should be looking somewhere like this. And it was the highest of around 250,000 at some point. So right now I am down 40 something percent from the top, the peak of February, during the whole a month and a half of correction, which is quite painful to watch how fast the account can decrease and wipe out a lot of the profit in the past. But after all, I have grew this portfolio from the lowest of $10,000 to the highest of around $250,000. So I believe that I will be able to get back up from here again. So that's why I'm not feeling depressed over the recent loss, because it is the volatility of the stock market that gives us chances to make our return on investment. There is time we enjoy the great uptrend, and there is time we need to tolerate the downward trend and the emotion driven by it. My investment strategy is a lot about going where the fear is. Fight the fear, defeat the emotion to get the biggest return on investment in the end. And the belief to recover the loss would help push me forward and move on from the pain of seeing the losses. So that is why today I wanted to show you my experience on how I recover from the loss of 60% in the portfolio, because I want to let you know that we are all in this together. We are all losing in our portfolio together. No one can avoid this part of the stock market. And I know how you feel right now, and I'm feeling the same way. But instead of repeating the same questions about why I didn't sell at that moment, which is exactly what is going to make us depressed and weak, we need to stop asking ourselves the question and stop regretting and start keeping our head straight to think about strategy. And I believe we can recover at the end of the day, and we will stay strong together from this storm. Okay? So that is the experience I had from recovering the 60% of loss into increasing 350%. I hope you can take away something from it and find it synchronized with our situation right now, and perhaps gain some hope and strength from here. And if you have enjoyed this video, please give me a big like and write me a great comment, and I will see you tomorrow. That's it, guys. Hope you can find my videos helpful. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and give me a big like. Thank you.